Hello again, everyone. It's Todd Staruch, the Horror Nerd, here at the Horror Sideshow Flea Market in Pennsylvania. And we're having a great time, but it is about to get better.
No, we are. We're having a good time. I'm shaking my head no, but we are. We're having a great time. I mean, I was having a great time until I sat next to the ultimate horror nerd right here. I'm just kidding. It is. It's a great time at the show. There's snow outside. There's more snow on the way, which kind of sucks, but it's been a good day.
It has been. And what's funny is you just assume that everyone knows who you are because you totally interrupted me before I could introduce you.
Oh, I'm sorry. That intro was coming really slow on horrornerd.com. So I wanted to speed it up. I'm Tiffany Shepis.
I don't know why I sat here.
100 and something movies. Also most recently seen in Lifetime's A Holiday Proposal Plan, as well as Star Trek's Picard Season 3. Horrornerd.com.
I am still here, as a matter of fact.
Oh, look who I'm here with.
So, yes. So that was a great intro. So why don't you do the interview?
The end.
Yeah, so anyway, all kidding aside, it is a privilege. This is the first time I've known you forever, but this is, I think, the first time I ever got a chance to interview you.
Weird.
And it is actually a thrill for me. It really is. You know I'm
and
a big
I just
fan.
ruined it for him.
Please.
All those years he was saving up the intro.
Please.
And then...
if you think this is the worst that ever happened, no, not at all. So, oh my God, so Tiffany, like, how does it feel to literally be a horror movie icon?
Horror movie icon. I don't know. I feel like I'm still too young for the horror movie icon status. But I don't know. I mean, it's everybody that knows me knows I've loved this genre since I started making these movies at 15 years old, right? I mean, I made my first movie was Romeo and Juliet.
So you started just last year?
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
Just last year. By the way, any filmmakers can only film me in candlelight. No, I love scary movies. So for me to continuously make them for this many years and fans to keep inviting me back and conventions to keep asking me to be at them, it's the best job in the world.
What do you think it is about horror films that makes people like them? Why are people drawn to that genre, being that you're a fan of horror yourself?
Because anything I can watch in a horror film is less scary than real life, right? Like real life, you go and, you work your job and you're still not able to pay the bills, right? Real life comes with sickness and tragedy, and horror movies are a crazy, fun release for the most part. Now, like, doesn't mean to say some of them aren't tragic and terrible and awful, but when you're watching something, it's going to come to an end. Like, there's something cathartic about that, and I think as far as the fans are concerned, it's the only genre, horror and sci-fi, where you get to go to a convention and run into hundreds of thousands of people that love the same exact thing you do. Whether it's the different subgenres, like some like it campy and some like it gory and some like it super psychological. It doesn't matter. You all like the same thing, and that's awesome. So it's like an instant family.
That is a great answer. I always love asking that question because for me, I just like that thrill. It's like why people ride roller coasters.
Sure.
Right? It's a thrill, but it's over and it's safe. At the end, you leave the theater and you're like, oh, that was a rush.
Yeah.
But back to the real life horrors, the existential
like,
horror.
Oh God, now I've got to pay that bill.
Of life. Exactly. So one last question in that kind of realm, but is acting something you knew you wanted to do from a very early age?
I liked acting at a very early age, and then I just got the opportunities pretty quickly. So, like, I liked doing plays, and I liked, modeling and stuff like that as, like, a kid growing up in New York City. But then there was an actor's paper called Backstage in New York, and they had an ad for casting for Romeo and Juliet. And I was like, wait a second, Troma. I know that name. Like, we watch those when my mom goes out of town, and everyone comes to our house to have a party. And so I cut school, and I went and auditioned. And to me, it was like, like anybody that's involved in the genre, you're like, how could this not be awesome? And certainly making movies and doing it for a living is not easy. but when you get the opportunity to do them, there's nothing cooler, you know? So I feel like I got thrown into it very young and then kind of was like, what else would I do?
Awesome. That is great. All right. So you told me to make it quick, so I'm gonna switch.
You're not supposed to say that.
Listen, please.
I said I'd have all the time in the world and then go, wait a second, why so soon?
I am by no means a professional.
It's only because the con is ending very soon, so we want to make sure we get to talk to everybody that's here to talk to us.
Listen, I never claimed about being a professional at doing this. Like,
you know what's exciting? Speaking of him not being a professional, but me being a professional, let me tell you about what I have going on right now.
Yes.
Just yesterday, our podcast, Casualty Friday, which is myself, Felissa Rose, star of Sleepaway Camp, and Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In, and Terrifier 2 or something like that, I think, and Kane Hodder, who you all know as Jason from the Friday 13th. We host a podcast together. It's technically our third season, but since we've revamped the show, we're calling it's the remake. So Casualty Friday Remake, you can listen to it on Spotify, iTunes, or really anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's going to be on every other Friday, so make sure that is your bi-weekly routine. Friday mornings, wake up, whether you're driving to work, whether you're going on a date, listen to Casualty Friday.
And that concludes this shameless self-promotion part of our video.
And scene. This episode was brought to you by Casualty Friday.
I love it. Our new sponsor, apparently.
But we don't pay.
Exactly. Okay, I do have to talk about Star Trek Picard.
Yes.
Because there's a reason nerd is in the name. So I've talked to you about it. You know how I feel about you and your husband, Sean, single-handedly saving the show. But
I certainly had no hand in that. But
so now you played Dr. Oak. Is being in Star Trek something you had always thought about? Because I talked to a lot of people who were in Star Trek, and some of them are like, it was a lifelong dream,
sure.
and others are like, it was an audition. How'd you get the part?
So, was it a lifelong dream? No, but because at the time, like horror and sci-fi just didn't really mix. Like it was like sci-fi conventions when I started were a thing, and horror movie conventions were a thing, and the people really didn't
100%,
transfer very often. And maybe if it was like a crossover actor who had done some horror stuff, you would see them, but it was really, really separate. So I just kind of never thought it would be a possibility. And then Sean Tretta, who I happen to be married to, started writing for the show, and him and Terry Metalis, who was show running it, were talking about me being on it and talked to me about being a changeling on the show. And I was like, wait, but who's playing Dr. Oak? And they were like, nobody, but a small part. And so I auditioned again and got it. And it's small part, but every character on that show has a connected purpose. And I think I had the coolest ship, and I had the coolest captains, and I couldn't have been more excited to be a part of it. So, and then working with Sean, I mean, everything my husband writes is kind of amazing, and not just saying that. I mean, I probably only married him because he's talented.
No, I agree, and I'm not married to him.
But everything he writes is like ridiculously cool and good, so I just got extra lucky with that.
Fantastic. Well, you were very cool, and I'm not just saying that.
I was very cool. Got to be kind of mean, to Dr. Crusher.
So
but
what is that like? Like you step onto that set, the bridge of the starship, or sick bay, or whatever. What is that like?
Oh, well, one, it's extraordinarily nerve-wracking because you have to remember, like, I felt like, all these people know each other. They've all worked together. So many, they have all these very important characters in Star Trek lore, and here, like, you're this newcomer. You're just really afraid to screw it up, or really, like, step on somebody's toes or say the wrong thing or not remember your line. It's just incredibly nerve-wracking. I never get that way. So that was weird. But Jonathan Frakes directed the first episode I was in, and he's unbelievable, and he's so kind and so nice, and he's the guy that everybody talks about. Like, he's so wonderful. It really is true. And the rest of the cast, everybody was just super cool. So it was easy to fall right in, And I'm a genre nerd, so I can talk to pretty much anybody about any type of genre stuff. And there's no way you can't walk onto a set like that and look around and feel like, holy crap, this is cool. we're in space. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, it's just so, like, there's a feeling you get, like, and a lot of the actors said the same thing when you put the uniform on for the first time. There is this feeling of like, oh, like you want to cry. Like, it's really pretty unbelievable.
That is great. I am.
And then I wanted
totally
to cry.
Jealous. Like,
You know, when I was told that I had to have my hair pinned back so tight that, you know, Dr. Oak couldn't be sexy.
No. Trills are always sexy.
Always sexy.
Like the dots go all the way down, right?
What a perv.
I know. Terry Farrell said that like back in the day, so I'm going by that. So I don't want to keep you, longer than necessary. So one final question is, what do you have other than the podcast? What are you working on next?
We just finished a crazy little horror ensemble with for Amelie. I don't know. Their original title was Slasher Size that I did a cameo in. I'm not sure if that's what it's actually going to be called. I heard things that it wasn't going to be called that, but a lot of famous cameos in that one. One might be your friend Felissa Rose, Lisa Wilcox, Kelly Maroney. So like a lot of horror kind of genre royalty. So we have that coming out, and really just everything's flooded into that podcast right now. So make sure you guys listen every other Friday.
Fantastic. Any final words you want to share with the fans out there? All three of them. All three
of these very important fans. Make sure you listen to Casualty Friday, watch all of my stuff, and make sure you keep going to horrornerd.net. And if you want to write anything bad, write it all into Todd. Even if you just want to talk about how much you don't like him, or you didn't like his shirt, or his bald head bothered you, go right ahead. He has a thick skin. It's totally fine. Get all your aggression out. Use it as your personal therapy session. I'm Tiffany Shepis. Thank you for listening.
Tiffany, seriously, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. All kidding aside, we've known each other a long time, and I am very proud to call you a friend. So I wish you much luck in all your future endeavors.
Live long and prosper.
Yes, indeed. Tiffany Shepis, everybody. I'm Todd Staruch, the Horror Nerd, signing off from the Horror Sideshow Flea Market. We will see all of you in the next interview.